Very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television, where we bring to you the biggest news stories that you might have missed during the night from India and across the world, and also stories that are likely to unfold through the course of the day today, starting with the headlines. Constitution 123rd Amendment Bill 2017 and National Commission for Backward Classes Repeal Bill 2017 passed with amendments in the Rajya Sabha. BJP's tribal nominee elected to Rajya Sabha from Madhya Pradesh, 5 TMC candidates and 1 Congress candidate elected from West Bengal to the upper house. Prime Minister leaves for Assam to take stock of the flood situation and relief work, announces a 2 lakh rupees compensation for the next of the kin of those killed in the floods. Nobody can beat Modi in 2019, says Nitish Kumar. Defends the decision to snap ties with the Grand Alliance. Senior leader Sharad Yadav had termed the decision as unfortunate. And less than 10 days in the post, Anthony Scaramucci is out as the White House Communications Director. First up, news from Rajya Sabha, where the Constitution 123rd Amendment Bill 2017 and the National Commission for Backward Classes Repeal Bill 2017 were passed with amendments in the Rajya Sabha on Monday. Now, the bill providing for the setting up of a National Commission for Backward Classes was passed after dropping of Clause 3, to which 4 amendments moved by the Congress were approved by the House. Here are all the details.
After a long discussion on the Constitution 123rd Amendment Bill 2017, the National Commission for Backward Classes Repeal Bill 2017 in the upper house, the bill was finally passed with amendments, leading to a setback for the government. Congress MP Digvijay Singh pressed for division in his amendments related to Clause 3 in the bill during voting.
I am moving the amendment number 27 to increase the number of members from 3 to 5, because this OBC constitutes almost more than 50% of the population of this country. Therefore, the number of members in this commission should be at least 5, and at least one of them should be a woman. And one of them should be from the minorities. This is amendment which is needed, sir. And also 29 also, sir, it should be in SC, ST, the provision is for to participate and advise. That has not been kept in this, because the argument has been that they have incorporated the total SC, ST commission into this. But in this, they have not incorporated the words to advise on, to participate.
So that means you are moving.
Yes. And 30th also,
you are moving.
We are moving.
The government assured that this will be incorporated in rules, but the opposition did not relent. This clause was amended with 50% of the votes, but could not be adopted by the 2/3 majority. Following this, the chair had to remove the entire clause from the bill.
इस संबंध में जो आप संशोधन लाए हैं, इस संबंध में मैंने पहले विस्तार से बताया है, और मैं निवेदन करना चाहूँगा कि जहाँ तक सदस्यों की संख्या का सवाल है और उसमें एक महिला सदस्य होने का प्रश्न है, तो नियम बनाते समय इस प्रकार की बात का हम ध्यान रखेंगे, और जहाँ तक राज्यपाल की राय का सवाल है, वो तो राज्य सरकार के राय ही होगी, इसलिए इसको अगर वो स्वीकार कर ले और अपना संशोधन वापस ले ले तो कृपा हो।
It is very simple, it is very clear. I will tell you, for the amendment, only simple majority is required. Now let me say, so amendment will be carried. After that, the clause will be amended clause. For that amended clause, all of you should vote together. Then only the bill will carry. Otherwise, the bill will collapse.
Acting upon the request of both the leader of the House and the leader of the opposition, the deputy chairman even suspended the proceedings of the House for some time, allowing both the sides to find a solution to the stalemate.
You cannot keep the lobbies closed. How can you do that? Yeah.
No way. I'll tell you. Because
With no solution in sight, both sides accused each other of blocking the passage of the bill.
You create a bare structure of the commission, and in the rules you provide, and in both the rules you did not exclude anybody else, because there may be members who are not scheduled caste, who may espouse the cause of the scheduled caste. This may help in social integration, and therefore this exclusion was not considered desirable any time between 2004 until today. And now you want the exclusion to be a part of the Constitution itself. And therefore, I would urge the Honourable Leader of Opposition and his colleagues to seriously reconsider whether a constitutional provision saying everybody else will be excluded should really be included a part of the Constitution itself.
सर, ये पार्ट अगर कानून का हिस्सा नहीं है, इसके लिए सरकार रिस्पांसिबल है, अवश्य रिस्पांसिबल है। See, इनकी वजह से
The deputy chairman then proceeded with taking up other clauses of the bill, and the House finally passed it in an amended form without clause 3. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the opposition Congress forced a brief adjournment of proceedings in Rajya Sabha on Monday, alleging that the Gujarat police was kidnapping and threatening its MLAs in the state. But the ruling party refuted all the claims and asked the Congress to set its house in order instead of levelling baseless allegations.
Madhusudan Mistry of the Congress alleged that Congress MLAs were being kidnapped to influence the August 8th Rajya Sabha polls. He also tendered a notice under Rule 267 during 0 hour, seeking to set aside business to take up the issue.
This was already...
A police officer was used to threaten not to allow
this issue was...
The MLAs were kidnapped, in fact. They are offered 10 crore, 15 crore rupees. And this government...
This issue was already raised. No, sit down.
Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi hit back at the Congress, accusing it of kidnapping its own MLAs and lodging them in a holiday resort in Karnataka.
उनके प्रतिनिधियों को वहां की जनता ढूंढ रही है और उनके प्रतिनिधियों को कांग्रेस पार्टी उनका अपहरण करके एक हॉलिडे होम में उसने ले जा करके हॉलिडे रिजॉर्ट में कर रखा है। उस पर चर्चा कर लो। आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए कि आज जब गुजरात का आम आदमी बाढ़ से त्राही कर रहा है, उनका एमएलए, उनका रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हॉलिडे होम में, हॉलिडे रिसॉर्ट में एंजॉय कर रहे हैं, पिकनिक मना रहे हैं, तो आप उस पर चर्चा कर लो।
Deputy Chairman PJ Kurian disallowed Mistry's notice and said the same matter was raised on Friday as well.
Mr. Mistry, government says they are ready for discussion if you want. You give another notice if you want discussion. But don't disturb the house. Don't disrupt the house.
Dissatisfied Congress members, however, moved into the well of the house and protested against the government. The chair then adjourned the house for 10 minutes. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And in Lok Sabha, the opposition on Monday targeted the Modi government on the issue of mob lynching. However, the ruling side asserted that it was the state government's responsibility to deal with such crimes. As all the party members condemned the killings in the name of cow, Leader of Congress in the Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, alleged that the Modi government was against the minorities, Dalits as well as women. He said that these sections bore the maximum brunt of mob violence. The Trinamool Congress also accused the BJP-led government of encouraging groups behind the violence by cow vigilantes. But the BJP slammed the opposition parties for targeting the centre and said that the Prime Minister had repeatedly come out strongly against such acts.
जिस दिन मोदी जी ने लिंचिंग के खिलाफ एक बहुत बड़ा बयान दिया था और उन्होंने ये कहा था ऐसे लोगों के ऊपर एक्शन लेंगे, क्या एक्शन आपने लिया? हम पूछते हैं इस सदन के लीडर से, प्राइम मिनिस्टर से, क्या एक्शन आपने लिया? आप बात कर रहे हैं, आप हमेशा कहते हैं एक, करते हो दूसरा।
2010 to 17, 97% of the attacks were after BJP came to power, and 52% of the attacks were from BJP ruled state. मैं किसी को नाम नहीं ले रहा हूँ,
You cannot make this a country, a unified country according to your thought of unification. We are united, we were united, and we shall remain united for India, not for certain people's dreams.
अगर जुनैद को कोई हत्या कर रहा है तो वो हिंदू धर्म के रक्षा के नाम पर क्यों करे? वो हत्यारे हैं। और देश की सरकार हो या हमारे विरोधी पक्ष हो या पत्रकार हो, सबको ये कहना चाहिए हत्यारे हत्यारे हैं।
तो मैंने कहा धर्म के नाम पर भी अत्याचार है, हिंदू मुसलमान के नाम पर, ईसाई और हिंदू के नाम पर, क्रिश्चियंस के सिखों के नाम पर।
We have issued clear advisory to all the states and union territories of the country that mob lynching or anything related to that will not be acceptable. जब जरूरत पड़ता है, हमको लगता है कि हमको इंटरवीन करना चाहिए, एडवाइजरी जारी करना चाहिए, मदद देना चाहिए, हम समय पे राज्य सरकार के साथ तालमेल रहा है।
On to some other news now. BJP's tribal nominee Sampatya Waiki on Monday was elected unopposed as the lone vacant Rajya Sabha member from Madhya Pradesh. The by-poll was necessitated following the death of Union Environment Minister Anil Madhav Dave in the month of May. Now, out of the total 11 Rajya Sabha seats in Madhya Pradesh, 8 seats are currently represented by the BJP, while the Congress holds 3. Meanwhile, 5 TMC candidates and a Congress have been elected to the Rajya Sabha unopposed from West Bengal. The 5 TMC candidates elected to the Rajya Sabha are Manas Punya, TMC's Chief National Spokesperson Derek O'Brien, Shukendu Shekhar Roy, Dola Sen and Santa Chetri. Now, Congress candidate Pradeep Bhattacharya was also elected to the upper house. Meanwhile, the none of the above option will also be available to the MLAs who would cast their votes in the 8th of August Rajya Sabha election in Gujarat. The Rajya Sabha polls are taking place after almost 20 years in the state, and so it would be the first-time experience for most of the 182 MLAs. In the past 2 decades, elections were not required as the candidates were elected unopposed. On to some other news now. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has defended his decision of breaking his alliance with the RJD in the Congress. Now, speaking to the media in Patna, Kumar said that he could not tolerate the corruption in the RJD. He also said that there is no challenger for Prime Minister Modi in 2019. His statement came after senior JDU leader Sharad Yadav expressed his disappointment over the prevailing situation in Bihar, saying it was very unpleasant and unfortunate.
Talking about the breakup of the Grand Alliance, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said he tried his best to save it but failed to do so. Kumar said it was RJD who had made objectionable statements against the Grand Alliance, even as the JDU refrained from saying anything.
हमारे सामने कोई दूसरा विकल्प नहीं था। महागठबंधन की सरकार चलाने का हमने अपनी क्षमता भर और गठबंधन धर्म का पालन करते हुए हमने पूरी कोशिश की। कई प्रकार की कठिनाइयां आती रही और जो समाचार पत्रों में, मीडिया में वो बातें उछलती रही, मैंने उन बातों पर ध्यान नहीं दिया। खासकर राष्ट्रीय जनता दल की तरफ से अनेकों बार आपत्तिजनक बयान आए जो गठबंधन धर्म के बिल्कुल विपरीत था। कोई दूसरा नहीं काबिज हो सकता, सच बता मोदी जी का मुकाबला करने की किसी में क्षमता वगैरह है नहीं।
Earlier in the day, senior JDU leader Sharad Yadav finally broke his silence on Nitish Kumar's decision to leave the Grand Alliance. Calling the turn of events unfortunate, Yadav claimed that the mandate given by the people was being violated.
जो सारी परिस्थिति है हमारे लिए बहुत अप्रिय है। जो गठबंधन है, देश के बिहार की 11 करोड़ जनता ने फैसला दिया था हमारे करार पर, तो गठबंधन के टूटने का हमको अफसोस है।
Reports suggest that the senior JDU leader is upset with Nitish for breaking up the Grand Alliance. In the past few days, Yadav also met several opposition leaders regarding the matter in Delhi. Echoing similar sentiment, The RJD has also supported the veteran JDU leader.
शरद जी के मन में बहुत पीड़ा है और उस पीड़ा को कहीं न कहीं जो है उन्होंने प्रदर्शित भी किया है और यह मजबूत संभावना है कि शरद जी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के खिलाफ जबरदस्त जो है शक्ति प्रदर्शन करने का काम करेंगे।
हमने कोई दल नहीं तोड़ा। नीतीश कुमार जी ने इस्तीफा दे दिया क्योंकि वो भ्रष्टाचारी लोगों के साथ रहना नहीं चाहते थे। तो मैं क्या बंदूक बताकर उनको साथ में रखने के लिए कहूँ?
शरद जी की अपनी बेचैनी है और वो उनके अपने कारण हो सकते हैं। मैं नहीं समझता हूं कि उनकी अब बिहार में कोई बहुत रुचि है। बिहार के पौधान से वो देश की राजनीति करते थे।
In another development, the Patna High Court has dismissed 2 petitions challenging the formation of a new government by Nitish Kumar's JDU after taking support of the BJP. It has said that no intervention of the court is required after the floor test in the state assembly. In a surprise move last week, Nitish Kumar had resigned and pulled his party out of the Grand Alliance. He then allied with the BJP to form a new government. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Nitish Kumar also effected a major reshuffle in the bureaucracy and police on Monday. The posts of 28 IAS officers and 42 IPS officers has been changed. While district magistrates of 6 districts were changed, 13 superintendent of police rank officials were also altered in the reshuffle. Now, the principal secretary to the governor has been transferred as commissioner for departmental inquiries under General Administration Department. Principal Secretary Home Amir Subhani has been given additional charge of minority welfare. Also, Brajesh Mehrotra has been given additional charge as principal secretary to the governor. New district magistrates were made in 6 places in the reshuffle. The places include Lakhisarai, West Champaran, Kaushal, Nawada, Bhojpur, Banka and Buxar. In Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Stay tuned.
आजादी की जंग लड़ने वाले मेरे दोस्तों, आजादी चाहिए तो उसकी कीमत खून देके चुकानी होगी। तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा।
आईएनए की बागी फौजियों पर अंग्रेज देशद्रोह का मुकदमा चलाएंगे। उन तीनों के बचने के चांसेस कम हैं।
This trial and its judgment will be remembered throughout history.
Now, thanks for staying with us. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Assam from Delhi to take stock of the flood situation and relief work there. He will also hold discussions with Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal and senior officials there. He will also chair a series of high-level meetings to review the situation in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland and Manipur as well. Now, chief ministers and senior officials from these states are expected to be present. Now, ahead of his visit, the Prime Minister announced a 2 lakh rupees compensation each for the next of the kin of those who have lost their lives in Assam floods. He also announced 50,000 rupees each for those seriously injured. Now, floods in Assam this year have claimed 82 lives so far. A 7-member interministerial team that was on a 4-day visit to the state will now submit a report with recommendations to the centre for the early release of funds. Meanwhile, the flood toll in Gujarat has risen to 218, with 61 people killed in the worst hit Banaskantha district. The toll increased in the last 2 days after more bodies were recovered as the flood waters receded in Banaskantha and Patni districts. Now, around 4.5 lakh people are affected in the state, with over 39,000 people shifted to safer places and more than 11,000 have been rescued last week by the Army, the Air Force, NDRF and SDRF teams. Also, Chief Minister Vijay Rupani is camping in the Banaskantha Patan areas for the last 4 to 5 days. He assured people that normalcy will be restored in another 10 days. Now, Information and Broadcasting Minister Smriti Irani also inspected relief work in Banaskantha. Meanwhile, the Rajasthan government has announced a compensation of 1 lakh rupees each to the next of kin of those who have lost their lives in the floods. As per reports, the government also announced 25,000 rupees each for those critically injured and 10,000 rupees each for those who sustained minor injuries as compensation. The Chief Minister Vasundhara Rajya visited flood-hit areas in Jalore and Sirohi and reviewed the situation there. And the death toll in the West Bengal floods has risen to 39 with the death of 5 more persons. The situation was improving due to less rainfall and water level of the rivers receding there. In 14 flood-hit districts, around 27 lakh people were badly affected. The administration opened around 311 relief camps where over 47,000 people have taken shelter.
केंद्र सरकार और राज्य सरकार के समन्वय से लगभग 90 रिलीफ कैंप्स चलाए गए हैं, जिसके अंतर्गत 60,000 नागरिकों को मदद दी गई है। ये भी कहना उचित है कि अब तक का आंकड़ा रिलीफ मटेरियल के डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का, विशेषतः फूड पैकेट्स का 20 लाख की संख्या से ज्यादा का आंकड़ा है।
अभी हम घूम के देख रहे थे, सारे गांव वासियों से मिल रहे थे। बहुत दिनों के बाद इस प्रकार की एक बड़ा कट हुई है, घाई यहाँ कहते हैं वो हुई है। यहाँ की प्रशासन थोड़ा और रिलीव करनी चाहिए।
Let's move on in the bulletin now. In the latest series of standoff between India and China, now Chinese border guards reportedly entered 1 kilometer into the Indian territory and threatened shepherds grazing cattle there in the Barahoti area of Uttarakhand's Chamoli district. Now, according to the authorities, the incident took place in the morning of 25th of July when a group of shepherds were asked to vacate the land by the troops of the People's Liberation Army of China. Now, the incident comes in the backdrop of a standoff between Chinese and Indian troops at Doklam near Sikkim recently.
डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट से जो प्राप्त सूचना है उसमें ऑफिशियल कोई इस प्रकार की सूचना प्राप्त नहीं हुई है। ना तो वहां पर जो हमारे सिक्योरिटी के लोग थे, बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी के लोग, उन्होंने दी है, और ना जिला एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को इस प्रकार की सूचना प्राप्त हुई है। इसलिए इस बारे में हम और जानकारी गहराई से प्राप्त कर रहे हैं कि इसमें कितनी सच्चाई है।
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has hit out at Pakistan, saying that cross-border terrorism directed at India is now recognized as a larger regional and global challenge. Now, addressing an India-US think tank in New Delhi, Sushma Swaraj said that there is a growing convergence between New Delhi and Washington to counter it. She also underlined the need for respecting sovereignty and territorial integrity while carrying out connectivity projects seen as a reference to China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. Referring to India's deteriorating ties with Pakistan, Sushma Swaraj said that a neighborhood-first policy of the government has yielded results with all the countries in the region barring one. She also identified Afghanistan as an important theatre of cooperation over the last decade and a half between India and the United States.
We have been facing cross-border terrorism for many years now. This is now recognized as a larger regional, even global challenge. The clear and unambiguous message given jointly by PM Modi and President Trump needs to be pursued with resolve by the international community. We deeply appreciate the sacrifices made by the US to preserve peace, security and democracy in Afghanistan. However, it is important that the international community, particularly the US, must remain engaged in Afghanistan so that the gains of last 16 years are not frittered away.
And now an update on the Vijay Mallya case, and India has submitted a required opening note and other paperwork in connection with the Vijay Mallya case. The paperwork and opening note has been made available within the deadline which has been set by the UK court to Malia's defence team. Now, the case pertains to Malia's extradition. Now, India is seeking Vijay Malia's extradition for allegedly defaulting on several bank loans amounting to nearly 9,000 crore rupees. The next hearing to assess the progress in the case will be held at Westminster Magistrates Court on 14th of September. Vijay Malia, who has been in self-imposed exile in the UK since March 2016, was arrested by Scotland Yard on an extradition warrant on 18th of April this year, and he is currently out on bail. Let's get to some international news. Now, Pakistan's parliament will meet today to elect Shahid Abbasi as the new Prime Minister after the disqualification of a three-term Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Now, Abbasi, former petroleum minister and a close ally of Sharif, on Monday submitted papers in Parliament to become the new Premier. Now, his tenure is expected to last only about 2 months until Sharif's brother Shahbaz becomes eligible to be the Prime Minister by winning a parliamentary by-election. Meanwhile, Pakistan's opposition parties on Monday failed to agree on a joint candidate against Abbasi for the Prime Minister's election, with 6 candidates filing their nomination papers for the polls. But even a joint candidate cannot defeat Abbasi, as his party, PMLN, enjoys majority in the 342-member House.
Our priority is to continue from where things were on Friday and to provide continuity to the country and to fulfill the aspirations of the people.
Let's get you the big story coming in from the United States, where in the latest sign of chaos inside the Trump administration, Anthony Scaramucci is out as the White House Communications Director after fewer than 10 days in the post. Now, Scaramucci's departure comes days after he unleashed a vulgar tirade against 2 top White House officials in conversation with a reporter. Now, comments that President Donald Trump thought were inappropriate. Now, Scaramucci is the 3rd White House Communications Director to leave the post that had been vacant since late May. Scaramucci's departure follows one of the rockiest weeks of Trump's presidency, in which a healthcare legislation want to Obamacare failed in the Congress, and both his spokesman Sean Spicer and previous chief of the staff Reince Priebus left their jobs. On Monday, Trump swore in his new chief of staff, John Kelly, who is expected to bring a more disciplined approach to running what has become a chaotic White House.
The president certainly felt that Anthony's comments were inappropriate for a person in that position, and he didn't want to burden General Kelly also with that line of succession. As I think we've made clear a few times over the course of the last couple of days to several of you individually, but General Kelly has the full authority to operate within the White House, and all staff will report to him.
That's all in this news bulletin, but news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks so much for watching.